Welcome into Inside the Tank, Episode 4. Nick DiDonato, Nate Ward here, and we've got a great show for you guys. We'll jump right into it. This week in college football, guys, we had quite the game Saturday night between Notre Dame and Clemson.
Yeah, it was really down to the wire at a point, and at a point that I thought Clemson was going to take it. In the end of it, it was really back and forth. And that last drive by Notre Dame, I watched it towards the end, and that was electric.
I mean, did you watch the game?
Yeah, I did. It was a great win on Notre Dame's part. They definitely proved something, within college football that, we're here. Ian Book.
That's my man.
Yeah, he played one good game.
I had the biggest smirk on my face last week that we won that game, 47-40.
Yeah, they all played good, really. He had 310 yards and a touchdown. DJ Ugalele, if I butcher your name, I apologize. But he threw for 439 yards, 2 TDs. They both had good showings on both halves.
The thing that I was nervous about was how Notre Dame would start out the game. Because last time we played Clemson, being a Notre Dame fan, I got nervous because in the playoffs we got blasted 30-3, and then on the second play of the game we scored 7 points. So I think that first drive really catapulted Notre Dame to saying, hey, all right, we're here to play and everything. And like you said, DJ Ugalele, if I pronounce that right, if you're ever going to watch this, DJ, I'm sorry. He played a really good game, and he's only that was his second game starting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They threw him right into the fire, especially against a good team like Notre Dame.
And it's one of the best defenses in college football.
And I think if you're a Clemson fan, one thing you could take away from this, a positive, is that in the years that come after Trevor Lawrence leaves, you have a solid quarterback.
Exactly.
And not only a solid quarterback in the game against Notre Dame last week, but I believe that he'll continue to grow and get better.
The word around the street for Clemson is, like what I read in the articles from like the Clemson fan base, they said that kid's going to make you forget about who Trevor Lawrence was, which gets me nervous. And Dabo Swinney described him as a hybrid of Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence.
And I can honestly see that happening. I mean, honestly, with Ohio State, they have like a history of great quarterbacks. You had J.T. Barrett, Braxton Miller, Dwayne Haskins. All of those guys cemented themselves into that program. Yeah, I feel like he has the ability to do the same thing.
So Notre Dame, big winners, 47-40, taking over the top spot in the ACC. Our next thing, we'll turn from the ACC over to the Big Ten. Penn State, losers again, this time to Maryland in a blowout, really. I mean, what is going on at Penn State, guys?
I cannot tell you. They have, so I will say this. I say Maryland is a very good team. I'll say that because Tua's brother, Talia, has played very well up until now. And he would have had a shot to play a legit contender in Ohio State this week. But COVID cases made that conflict. But Penn State does not look good right now. And they've played good competition, but they've made the Ohio State somewhat close after in kind of garbage time, but losing to Maryland, Indiana, Ohio State, 0-3 right out of the gates. And it gets worse. Journey Brown leaves. It doesn't look good for them right now.
Yeah, honestly, still big props to Maryland. Like, it was a good win.
Yeah.
But Penn State just don't look the same. Like, they don't like the Penn State of old. They're just not playing. Like, they're not. I don't know if it's something with their offensive coordinator or whatever, but they don't look the same. They're not playing fast. They're not playing like aggressive. They're just kind of just there.
Is it me or does the offense look really stale?
Yeah.
Like Sean Clifford right now. Like last year, they had a great offense.
Yeah, they were up tempo.
Sean Clifford looks rough right now.
Yeah.
Like I know he's lost 2 of his best running backs, but you got to pick it up still. You're at Penn State. You need to figure out ways to win.
Exactly.
Let alone losing to Maryland. And then Indiana, but Indiana's turned out to be very good. And now they play Nebraska this week, Penn State. So I think they'll get a win because Nebraska's just as bad as them.
Yeah.
Right.
And then our next thing for college football, the SEC. SEC's in trouble with COVID, guys.
Mm-hmm.
We've got 4 games that are going to be canceled this weekend.
Yeah.
With that, what do you think, Nate?
Well, before the start of the season, I know that they reserve time to make up games and stuff like that, but how I feel, as long as they have a handle on the COVID situation, they have time to make up the games. There's not a a really large outbreak on whatever side of the team, whatever teams are playing, then I feel like after like a 2-week period or 2-week like stale period that they can come back and play football.
Yeah, I think he said it best. SEC's done a good job of allocating times and game times where if this were to happen, they have games to play later.
Them and the ACC have the same backup.
Right,
plans.
and these conferences like the Pac-12 or the Big Ten or conferences like that just have started playing games and have limited games like 8 or Pac-12 6, they don't have that. And Ohio State just got their game canceled and they don't get to play it, so they have 7 games this year.
Exactly.
And I think the SEC's done a good job of actually putting together a plan, whereas the Big Ten is just throwing together a season, and they haven't really allocated the fact that COVID is around. So it'll be interesting to see actually how the Big Ten handles the Maryland situation, because they do say that Maryland has a lot of cases over there. So, in the SEC standpoint, I think they're in a good position just because they have a plan and they've allocated games and spots.
I don't think they're in a good situation. Just because there are a lot of games being canceled this weekend.
Right.
Compared to everyone else, like the ACC maybe had 1 game per week canceled or postponed. But they've got 4 games postponed. They're going to have to figure this out. Like, there's a lot of back time they got to figure out here. Because I forgot what day exactly the SEC championship is, but I think it's the same weekend as the ACC. They need to be ready to have these games ready to go. Because LSU's in hot water right now. Ed Orgeron described it as a Halloween party. Some of his athletes went to, which, you can't be surprised. Florida, who got their game, LSU has 2 postponed games they have to make up. 1 against Florida and 1 this weekend against Alabama.
Yeah.
And those, I'm not making, those are 2 losses right there. But still, like if you already, this is your 2nd game postponed, you are scratching your head wondering how we're going to finish this season off.
Yeah.
But coming up next will be our new segment, The Hot Seat, where we, highlight a coach who we think's on the hot seat. Welcome into our new segment, The Hot Seat, where Nate and I will be asking Nick his case about which college football coach should be put on the hot seat after this week's game. So, Nick, who's your coach? And we'll put 1 minute on the clock, starting when you start to talk.
Well, this week I got Michigan's very own head coach, Jim Harbaugh. And this is because you could look at it for this year. They haven't had a great run at it this year, but I look at it in the past because they're 0-5 against their rival, Ohio State. And I did just look at this last night or a couple nights ago against Michigan State, their in-state rival. They're 2-3, and they've been shocked by them multiple times. But I think what it comes down to is they need to find a person that can actually progress them, and I don't think Harbaugh has done enough. And you have to – we looked at it yesterday with top 10 wins, where we were talking about he doesn't get it done under pressure. And his record there is his record there was 42 and
48 and 20.
48 and 20, and a lot of them were not conference wins.
2, 1. All right. Whoa. Okay. So the timer goes off. All right. So Nate, how do you think Jim Harbaugh is, according to Nick's explanation?
Actually, I agree with Nick. Harbaugh hasn't done the greatest job.
Okay, hold on. Note that these guys are both Ohio State fans, so they are going to blast Jim Harbaugh for just about anything. But keep going. I'm sorry.
He hasn't done the greatest job since being hired. Since being hired, he's like 68 and 48 as the head coach of Michigan.
We just read the number. He's 48 and 20.
Oh, the overall, that was 68.
That was 48 and 20.
48 and 20. Okay, 48 and 20. And also, he's 1-4 in bowl games, which is bad. He has 1 year left on his contract. So honestly, if I was Harbaugh, I would probably just leave before I got fired. But I mean, they're probably gonna be looking for somebody to replace him here soon.
I don't know. We have Coach Balza coming on in a minute. He said the khakis he needs to embrace again. The blue pants aren't working for Jim Harbaugh yet.
At all.
So I think, Harbaugh, they don't get it. They somehow lose this weekend to Wisconsin. This might be the end of the line for the Harbaugh era here at Michigan. Welcome back into Inside the Tank. We have our special guest and good friend, Coach Balza from our men's basketball team. And before we get into questions, you want me to ask you, what are your thoughts on Jim Harbaugh, of course?
First of all, Alex, thanks for having me back. It's great. I love seeing you guys do this. Tremendous experience here. Hear you talking about my guy Jim Harbaugh. I don't know. I'm surprised these Ohio State, Notre Dame guys would want to get rid of Harbaugh, all things considered. I am sporting the khakis today. That's what I'm hoping
Harbaugh
he comes
khakis.
back into the khakis. But no, my big thing with all of this, you've talked about a number of Notre Dame. I mean, we didn't talk about the World Series and the NBA championships, but certainly with college football going on, and we're talking about sports instead of just COVID. And I get that there's COVID issues within each of these, but I don't know, watching that Notre Dame Clemson game the other night, to me, it felt like the old normal. To see the students storm the field, however you felt about that, but to see the students storm the field, to see the athletes celebrate is kind of a neat thing that even in this era, hey, there's still the excitement of sports, and that's what sports brings to the table, is a little bit of relief from all the other things going on.
And we're slowly progressing in the right direction sports-wise, I think. I want to say that. I don't know if you guys agree. I feel like we're slowly getting there.
Well, even from our perspective, we
Yeah.
feel that way, that we're practicing, and albeit with masks, I get that it's different, but it feels, I don't know, when I walk off the court, and even I think our guys feel the same way, is, hey, this has some normalcy to it. After 7 months of not being able to be on a basketball court, it's nice to have that back, and helps you feel like, hey, we're getting back to some level of reality for everybody.
Well, going back into that normalcy, you guys have a scrimmage just announced next week. What does that mean for you? I'm sure you guys are ready to get back on the court, but what does that mean just in the midst of everything to say, hey, we're going to have a scrimmage?
Yeah.
And we're going to air it eventually for
we're
parents.
looking forward to that, because for the longest time we weren't able to do anything, and then we were able to do a little bit with just some 5-on-0s or a couple guys in the gym and that sort of thing. We worked our way through that, and I got to give our guys a lot of credit. They've done a tremendous job of wearing their masks, as difficult as that can be, but they did the right thing there. They've done the right thing off the court to avoid putting ourselves in a situation where we're shut down for an extended period of time, and now we're having a practice. So we're going to try to do the same sort of thing in the scrimmage, have a dry run, because at some point here in January we're going to play some real games, and it's going to be nice to get to see that. But before we can get to that, we got to have that exhibition, that scrimmage, if you will, so we can get a feel for it and let our new guys get inundated with how it looks and feels, and to have a game day experience.
Well, then, speaking of I'm going to ask another question. Speaking of the new guys, how do you think they've all adapted to the situation here compared to some of the more experienced guys who know how you will run a practice? And it might be a little different with COVID, but how about these new guys adapting, saying, hey, we've never really played for this coach, and now we have all these extra add-ons?
Yeah, I've been real happy with our new guys. One of them sitting down there in the end, I know, but I've been real happy with the 6 new guys we brought in the program, that they're fitting in, and everybody's got the obvious distractions and newness to the whole COVID and the masks and staying apart when we're talking, and so each person has their own individual bench during practice that they go to, so they can get their water breaks and such. So those in and of themselves are difficult, but for a new guy coming in, adapting to college in a different setting, but then adapting to a basketball team that's got some veterans back, I think they've done a great job of fitting in, and I think they all fit our style of play, so I'm really excited about that. And I think when you come out to the scrimmage next week, you'll get a chance to kind of see for yourselves what some of those new guys are able to bring to the table, and that's the exciting piece, that it feels like basketball when you get to start to see that.
Yeah. Nick?
I think one of the reasons why we're here in the scrimmage aspect is because your team has had 0 positive cases. And how have you relayed that message of them being safe and not putting themselves in the harm of getting those positive cases?
Well, first thing I'll say to that is give the guys all the credit. And we talked about it from day one, and I think a second part of that is to understand we're not going to be upset whether you test positive. That's just a reality of life these days, that at some point in time somebody's going to test positive. What we want is for that not to negatively impact our season. So we need to be able to get things accomplished at this point in time, so that if it does get shut down, as you've seen, I mean, much bigger programs than us have gotten shut down for a couple weeks at a time. So we know that that's a strong possibility to come. But we'd like to avoid that for as long as we can, and they've done a tremendous job, and they've had to give up a lot of things You give up going to Halloween parties. You give up hanging out with a large group of people and settle for hanging out with a small group of people. We've kept our circles very small. Each of us have, and I think that's an important component to it. And so therefore, when it does come that time, and it's a new thing to deal with, but if there does happen to be a positive case and we get shut down for a short amount of time, we deal with it at that point, and everybody's up front and open and honest and saying, here's where I've been and what I've done, so that we can get past that if it does ever happen.
Absolutely. Hey, you got any questions for your
Actually,
coach?
just piggybacking off that, coach, like all of the coaches, they put a lot of trust in us. With COVID and everything, they know like the most people I'm around is my roommates and my teammates. Yeah. Honestly, they let us know like that they're not gonna be mad at us if something like that happens. Like it's the world we live in right now, but they just know they put a lot of trust in us to make the right decisions. To not be out doing, just knucklehead stuff. It just feels good that like we have like coaches that like put a lot of trust in us in that aspect.
And that's no different than any year on a lot of things. We talk about that all the time. That you're different, right? You got to act different. At PBA, we're different in a lot of ways. From a spiritual standpoint, we're not going to do things that maybe other student athletes would. So this is just one more thing.
Yeah.
And like I said, I give our guys credit because they've been able to do that. And, we haven't had to remind them as frequently, hey, make sure you're masked when they do fall down. They come back up on the first stoppage of play.
Yeah.
And we do take breaks where they can take those off where they're socially distanced. So I think we've built in I hate to call them rules, but a lot of kind of criteria, guidelines as to how we're going to try to make this happen and how to make this work.
I mean, luckily these are temporary.
Right.
Eventually these are going to be lifted, but for now we got to adapt.
And preparation is
Yeah.
a big part of that, because you can just say, oh well, it's going to go away eventually, or you can prepare for, in the meantime, how are we going to try to make it work within the parameters.
Absolutely. So we all hope and pray that there is going to be a season for you guys. What do you think? Not what the conference thinks and your upper level bosses think. What do you think, fan wise, we might see? Do you think we'll see anyone? Because I know at high school games we've seen some fans, and NBA we didn't. But that's NBA. But all over, we're seeing different amount of fans and groups coming to these games.
My typical response to that is above my pay grade. In other words, we like to deal with the realities that we're given, and I don't know how that. I hope there'll be some level of that. But as I've told a lot of people, you guys do a tremendous job with the streaming. I think PBA is certainly the best in the SSC. Maybe one of the best in the country at the broadcast. So if we can't. We got a lot of kids that come from different parts of the world, let alone different parts of the country, so their families already watch it that way. So if that happens, so be it. We'd love to have some fans in there, but we're going to deal with the hand that's dealt. And like I said, you've seen the NBA, you've seen Major League Baseball do it without any fans, and you wouldn't know any difference in terms of how they celebrate when it's all said and done.
Yeah. You got another question?
Honestly, just with COVID and everything, what are you most optimistic for, just for the season?
Yeah, I said I'm excited that it's felt like basketball here over the last couple of weeks, and I think as we get into January, it'll feel all that much more so. I've had a chance to talk with, more so than ever, the other coaches around our league, and it's so interesting to see how everybody's in a different place. Some are practicing without masks because their counties don't require them. Some aren't practicing at all. So it's a very different dynamic, and I think ultimately our conference will have a set of rules or guidelines, if you will, as we get into January. So I think everyone will be in a lot more similar place at that point in January. I'm most excited to get the chance to see live what we're seeing each day in practice against other teams and see how those teams look. We're starting to get that. You're starting to see some stuff has come out now with the basketball previews. Some of the Division II stuff's coming out, so that makes it feel real.
Some polls have been coming out lately, which
exactly.
is getting us a
couple
little
teams
more
from our
excited.
league in the top 10 in the country, and so that gives you a little more motivation to each day in practice. And like I said, I think we've got a great group, and we haven't even got to talk about them. I know we talked about them a couple weeks ago, but we've got the 6 new guys who've all fit in really well. Those veteran guys, Jules and Dan and Casey. I mean, they've done such a good job of leadership. Because we can sell all we want as from a coach's standpoint as to what we expect. It really comes down to them kind of holding the rest of the guys' feet to the fire when they're away from the practice floor.
You talked about the polls. I just know, of course, PBA wasn't in there for
the national, yes.
Yeah, for the national, I saw Florida Southern and Nova in there.
Yep.
And I honestly thought PBA was, we talked about it in our broadcast last year, PBA was a top 3 team in our conference. Do you think that you guys already take that next level and say, hey, we're ready to be the likes of Florida Southern and Nova Southeastern?
I think
'Cause those
we're
are
at a
two
position
great
now to
teams.
be consistently competitive, and that's
Yeah.
what we've been talking about in this whole situation. You can't be consistently competitive if you can't get on the floor, so we got to get on the floor
Yeah.
first. But I think we're at that point. But we lost a lot. People don't realize that we lost 3 really good starters. You know, some guys that have been here a long time. Malik was here 5 years, Drake
Yeah.
4, Darius was one of the.
Darius' 1 year was amazing.
As the Nova coach referred to him, he's the best guard in the league. You know, so we lost, and then we lost Justin Nicholson, who was our first guy off the bench. So we lost 4 of our top 6. So I think sometimes they look and say, "Oh, you got Jules and Dan back, 2 potential preseason all-conference guys," but don't realize that we got to replace a lot. And that's one thing that has shown up in practice is for as talented as some of our new guys are, and as good a job as all of our guys have done at trying to pick up on stuff, it's still difficult to replace guys that have been in the system for 4 and 5 years from a knowledge standpoint, and especially if you only get a handful of practices. So the more practice we get, the more I'll feel good about us being able to resume that kind of level of play as where we were at the end of last season.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, guys? Nick?
I think we're good.
All right. Thank you, Coach Ball.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Can't wait to see you guys at the scrimmage next
Looking
week.
forward to having you out there.
Forward to it.
Coming up next, we'll go over our NBA mock drafts for next week's draft.
From court to court and lane to lane, under the lights or under the sun, no one delivers Division II sports like NCAA.com. The center of D2 is inside the NCAA.com hub, with exclusive highlights of every sport and live broadcasts of every Division II championship found nowhere else. Make NCAA.com yours, the home of Division II college sports.
All right, welcome back to Inside the Tank. Fellas, we've got NBA next week. We've got an NBA draft going on next week. And that'll be Wednesday night on ESPN, the draft COVID style. They'll do the NFL draft type thing again. And so you both wanted me to go first for my mock predictions. So away we go. For my first pick, I think LaMelo Ball will be going to the Timberwolves. They need some guard help with D'Angelo Russell, I think. And if those 3 can pair up, with Cat, that'd be a really good trio. And then my second pick is James Wiseman. Nick, you know how I feel about James Wiseman. I absolutely love him. I think he's one of the best centers. And he was the best center in college basketball. Then number 3, Anthony Edwards from Georgia. They can have a great guard pairing up with
They have Malik
Devontae Graham. Yeah, solid team. And then number 4, Obi Toppin is going to the Bulls. You said it yesterday night, one of the best players in basketball.
One of the best forwards, pure power forwards in the draft.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And then number 5 for me is Onyeka Okongwu from USC. So that's my top 5. I think I'm pretty sure this is how ESPN rated theirs, but that's my opinion. Nate, what about you?
Honestly, everything would be the same except my last pick. I would have Danny Aviv from Slovenia. He's a good guard, a good 3. He can stretch the floor out. I think Cavs need help scoring the ball. They have some good young scorers, but I just think they need something that'll help them on both ends of the ball, defense and offense.
Nick?
So I have the same as you. Same thing. I have LaMelo going to the T-Wolves. I have Wiseman going to the Warriors. I feel the same way. I think Wiseman got a little cut short in his college career.
Very short.
Very.
I have Anthony Edwards going to the Hornets like you, but the only difference is I have Onyeka Okongwu going to the Bulls, and I have Obi Toppin going to the Cavs.
All right, and then did you write scenarios down what could happen on draft night? As I did.
Honestly, no.
All right, I wrote 3 scenarios. How about you guys judge them? Or you guys tell me what you think. T-Wolves trade the first pick on draft night.
I think that's very possible.
I can see it,
Okay.
but it depends to who.
Yeah,
'Cause honestly, who
I would
gets
love
it?
them to trade it to Phoenix, so they can get
Ooh,
Devin
that's
Booker.
tough. Yeah.
Number 2, Aaron Gordon gets traded to a lottery team on draft night.
Honestly, I would love to see that. I'm not gonna lie to you.
And right now, it's the Warriors are
I
the
would-
draft or the lottery team that they're thinking.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
And then number 3, the Knicks somehow trade up into the top 5.
Well, the Knicks are gonna make a play for somebody.
Yeah.
Somebody big.
They're gonna do
I
something
see-
stupid
yeah,
on
they're-
draft night.
I see
They're gonna
that
do
if
something.
anything.
Yeah.
The Knicks.
But who would they give up? My guess
It
would
would
be
have to be their pick,
it'd
and
be, I
Den-
think it'd be
Dennis
like Frank Ntilikina
Yeah.
or like Dennis Smith
Dennis
in their
Smith.
pick.
Yeah. They
Or
would have to
pos-
give up a few.
They don't want to give up Kevin Knox, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, or
not none of the core.
RJ. No, well, if you call it a core.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's our NBA mock draft scenarios. And coming up next is, before we go, we've got a real hot treat for you guys. Our last segment before we go, and we were supposed to film last week. It was National Nacho Day, and we had these hot chips that we were going to bring in that Shaquille O'Neal has done and Inside the NBA has done, and we decided we're going to do the chips. So these chips are called Nick. What is the name?
Paqui.
Paqui. Haunted
Haunted
Ghost
Ghost
pepper
Pepper.
chips. Real peppers, real heat. And there's a warning label on here. It says, we're bringing the heat, and it hurts so good, do you dare? And there's a level, not hot, kind of hot, hot, super hot, freaking hot. And the level thing, it says freaking hot.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, boys, and then we've also have milk on standby.
You can just pass me.
I see inside the bag, and they look like nacho Doritos. So
Okay.
I don't want to be thrown off by that, because I know they're hotter than that.
Okay, so we're going to have to find the biggest chips in here. All right. Okay.
Oh, boy.
Nate, you pick a chip, and you go first.
Okay.
You pick the biggest one. That. Here, pick that one.
Solid choice.
Pick that one.
I think I'm good with this one.
All right, here we go. No,
You
you
have
know
that
what?
one.
We're gonna up the set. You can take two. Take two.
Take two.
Take two. And then you put them both in your mouth at the same time. Nope, no. Are you kidding me? That chip right there.
Two
All right,
chips?
take two. Okay.
Two
Take
chips?
Take two. There you go.
What?
Take two. We're gonna change
All
it
right,
up.
all right.
Okay. And I'll take two. Okay, I have my milk open. Ready to go. Okay. Okay. All right, here we go. You guys ready?
Hold on.
I'm putting
hold
both
on,
of them.
hold on.
Both of them in the mouth. All right, here we go. 3, 2,
I
1.
might not be able to.
Ooh. All hot already.
It's nothing to me.
It's hot.
There's just a little spice to it.
My tongue's on fire, guys.
Yeah. My tongue. Oh, oh wow.
Oh, my nose. Ooh.
In the back of my
Oh
throat.
my God, my throat.
Did y'all eat both?
You guys didn't put both of them in your mouth? Oh my Lord. Okay.
Oh. Oh.
All right, and that is a wrap for Inside the Tank. That was awful. Oh my God. Thank you guys. Oh Lord. That was-
Throat.